The cabin stood alone, surrounded by tall, dark trees. It looked like something from a dream, a forgotten dream. The wood was old and weathered, gray and rotting in places. The windows were dark eyes, watching, waiting. A porch swung dangerously low. One push and the whole thing might collapse, the perfect place to forget your worries, or remember your fears. This place promised peace. It also whispered secrets, dark secrets. My name is Chris. I needed this getaway. Life in the city had become overwhelming, a constant barrage of noise and stress. I craved solitude, a place where I could hear myself think, away from the city, away from everything. This cabin seemed perfect. Nestled deep in the woods, it promised the peace and quiet I so desperately needed. The trees stood tall, like silent guardians of this hidden sanctuary. I took a deep breath. The air was crisp and clean, a stark contrast to the polluted city air I was used to. It felt like I was breathing for the first time in ages. The air smelled damp and earthy. It was a scent that reminded me of childhood camping trips, of simpler times. The forest floor was covered in a thick layer of fallen leaves, each step I took crunching softly beneath my feet, like secrets buried beneath fallen leaves. The door creaked open. It was an old, heavy door, and it groaned in protest as I pushed it. It felt like I was intruding on a long-forgotten memory, like it didn't want to be disturbed. The hinges were rusted and the wood was worn and weathered. It was clear that this place hadn't seen visitors in a long time. Inside, the air was cold and still. Dusty furniture sat untouched, covered in white sheets. It was like stepping into a time capsule, everything frozen in place, waiting for someone to bring it back to life. Like ghosts of the past. I shivered. The temperature seemed to drop even further as I ventured deeper inside. There was an eerie feeling, like I was being watched by unseen eyes. What had I gotten myself into? The silence was unnerving. Every creak and groan of the old house seemed amplified in the stillness. I couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't alone, broken only by the creaking of the house, settling into its age, or maybe something else. The sounds were almost rhythmic, like the house was breathing, alive in its own way. I wondered what stories these walls could tell, what secrets they held. I explored the cabin. The air was thick with dust and every step I took echoed through the empty halls. The wooden floorboards creaked under my weight, adding to the eerie atmosphere. Each room was filled with dusty relics, remnants of a time long past. It felt like stepping into a forgotten world where every object had a story to tell. Faded photographs lined the walls, capturing moments frozen in time. The faces in the photos seemed to hold secrets, their eyes telling tales of joy and sorrow. Smiling faces stared back at me, their expressions hauntingly familiar yet distant. It was as if they were watching my every move, silently judging my presence. Their eyes seemed to follow my every move, creating an unsettling feeling that I couldn't shake off. It was as if the photographs were alive, their gaze piercing through the veil of time. In the attic I found a dusty trunk. The air was colder up there, and the silence was deafening. I hesitated before opening it, my heart racing with anticipation. Inside, a diary lay hidden, its cover worn and pages yellowed with age. It felt like I had stumbled upon someone's most intimate thoughts and fears. Its pages were filled with faded ink, the words barely legible, yet they held a power that drew me in, compelling me to read further. The words spoke of fear, of an unknown terror that lurked in the shadows. Each entry was a cry for help, a desperate plea for understanding, and something sinister lurking in the shadows. The more I read, the more I felt a presence around me, watching, waiting. I felt a cold shiver down my spine, a chill that seemed to seep into my very bones. The atmosphere grew heavier, and I could almost hear whispers in the air. The words on the page seemed to jump out at me, their meaning becoming clearer with each passing moment. They were warning me of something I couldn't yet comprehend, warning me, but of what? The diary spoke of strange noises, of things that go bump in the night. My imagination ran wild with possibilities. The diary spoke of strange noises, the creaking of the floorboards, the rustling of leaves outside, and the occasional distant thud. It was as if the cabin itself was alive, and things that go bump in the night. Every sound seemed amplified, echoing through the empty rooms and corridors. My heart pounded in my chest, each beat louder than the last. My heart pounded in my chest. I could feel the adrenaline coursing through my veins, my senses heightened. Every shadow seemed to move, every noise a potential threat. I was starting Nightfall. The forest was cloaked in darkness, with only the moon casting a pale glow on the cabin. The stars seemed to whisper secrets of their own, twinkling in the vast dark sky. Shadows stretched across the walls like grasping claws. The flickering candlelight made them dance, creating an eerie atmosphere that sent shivers down my spine. The wind howled outside, a lonely sound that seemed to echo through the trees. The branches swayed and creaked, as if whispering to each other in the dark. I tried to sleep, but every creak and groan sent chills down my spine. The old house seemed alive, its wooden floors and walls groaning under some unseen weight. The diary's words echoed in my mind, keeping me awake. Each line seemed to come alive, whispering secrets of the past. Then I heard it. A whisper, coming from the corner of the room. My blood ran cold. I was not alone. The shadows seemed to shift, and I could feel a presence watching me. The whisper grew louder, turning into a soft chanting. It was as if the walls themselves were speaking, their voices merging into a haunting melody. The air grew heavy, difficult to breathe. A thick mist seemed to fill the room, making it hard to see, and even harder to think clearly. Something was here with me. A dark figure loomed in the shadows, its presence undeniable. My heart raced as I realized I was not alone in the night. I had to escape. I fumbled for the doorknob. It wouldn't turn. I was trapped. Panic surged through me. The chanting grew louder, surrounding me. I spun around, searching for the source. Then I saw it. The photos on the wall. The faces were changing, twisting into grotesque smiles, their eyes burning with evil. It wasn't the cabin that was haunted, it was the photos. The people in the photos were the real prisoners, trapped forever within their frames.